They descended from the void like deities. The Zerelions had swept through world after world along the Orion Arm without suffering a single defeat. Their technology was centuries beyond anything other species could build. Their warships, vast obsidian giants the size of cities, slipped into orbit, and all defiance disappeared. No negotiations, no truces, no pity. Show resistance, and they erased you. Surrender, and you became their slaves. Humanity had watched it unfold across the distant colonies. First Kavos 3, a mining outpost. Thunurala, then the twin satellites of Solari. Each time, transmissions ceased. Each time, the ending was the same. Nothing survived. Earth's leaders responded the Anyard, stalled. Leaders clung to diplomacy. Some even prayed the Zerelions might overlook humanity if they stayed quiet. But after the seventh colony fell, hope was gone. Their course was set. They were coming for Earth, but Earth held a secret. A single warship. A monster concealed from every eye. A remnant of a forbidden initiative called Project Leviathan. It wasn't sleek or graceful like the Zerelion dreadnoughts. It was a jagged, brutal colossus, overloaded with guns, engineered for one purpose: to kill. Its name, Vindicator. Its captain, Commander Elias Rohr, remembered less for valor than for defiance. Disgraced, discarded, until now. He sat unmoving in the command chair. The stars stretched thin as silver threads while the Vindicator carved its path through the void beyond Pluto. Around him, his crew drifted like phantoms, veterans, outcasts, the broken and forgotten. No songs, no honors, only one mission: strike the impossible. "Sir," Lieutenant Sarenvale reported, her voice sharp, measured. "Zerelion flagship, 25 million kilometers. Approaching." Rohr gave no reply at first. His gaze locked on the display, on the Leviathan that consumed civilizations. The Jil Turak, merely one vessel, yet vaster than anything mankind had dared imagine. Its obsidian surface shimmered faintly, pulsing like a living beast. "Drop cloak," Rohr ordered at last. Faces stiffened. "Sir, we'll be exposed. They must see us," he said. "They must learn this one won't kneel." Outside, the Vindicator came alive, crimson light surging across its hull, as weapon arrays armed. Ancient systems roared awake, codes long buried now sparking to life. Inside the Zerelion dreadnought, alarms shrieked. A ship had appeared, minuscule by their scale, crude in design, yet moving straight toward them. Commander Jarek of the Jil Turak didn't blink. He never needed to. None had ever dared strike first. "Target," he ordered flatly. "Erase it." A burning sphere of plasma, vast as a building, erupted from the main cannon. It tore through the dark at a fraction of light speed, enough to crush any human craft. But the Vindicator did not fall. Its shields burst with radiance, then held. The bridge rattled, panels dimmed, but the hull remained whole. "They're scanning us," Saren murmured. "They don't understand." Rohr's lips curled. "Good." He turned to weapons. "Fire," the Vindicator answered with fury. Smart warhead missiles spiraled outward. Railguns spat slugs so fast they burned like stars. A beam of condensed ion energy carved across the void, ripping through the Jil Turak's forward banks. For the first time in all their wars, the Zerelions saw their giant bleed. On the enemy bridge, pandemonium surged. Shields failing. A technician wailed in their tongue. "Adaptive targeting how?" Jarek stood frozen. "Impossible." "They're only humans." "Yes, Commander," the tech stammered. "And they've crippled our targeting systems." Aboard the Vindicator, Rohr leaned close, eyes locked on the sight of damage blooming. "That was your mistake," he growled. "Thinking we'd shatter." Rising, his voice thundered. "Prepare. We end this when they finally understand what humanity is. No longer prey. No longer caged. Now they with a storm. There was no sound in the void, yet within the Vindicator it felt as Ivory Soul drew one breath together, watching the Geel Tarak stagger in disbelief. Attack, direct hits on their forward array, communications bay, and external shield nodes. Lieutenant Sarenvale reported, her voice sharp, but laced with awe. They're wounded, sir. Bleeding power. Commander Roar didn't blink. Don't let up. They're still alive. The Vindicator pivoted hard, artificial gravity groaning as inertia dampeners struggled to adjust. Another volley of railgun slugs screamed acrospace, trailing streaks of white-blue light. Missiles split off, dodging plasma bursts from the alien ship as they homied in on vulnerable subsystems. On the Zerelion bridge, Commander Jarek clutched the edge of his command platform, his clawed hands trembling, not from fear but rage. Never had a species landed a meaningful hit on a Zerelion vessel. Never. How is this possible? He snarled. We've studied their technology for years. They're decades behind us. Unknown modifications, his lieutenant hissed. This vessel, it's not standard human design. They've hidden it from all known records. Jar's voice dropped to a growl. Then destroy it. I want its wreckage studied and every name aboard remembered. The Jaluruk's belly opened like a beast unhinging its jaw, revealing a rotating cannon the size of a city block. From within, energy began to gather. Crimson pulsing unstable. Back on the Vindicator, sensor screamed, warnings. Energy surge. Shouted Chief Engineer Ramirez from below deck, patched in via comms. Bigger than anything we've seen. If that hits us, it's over. Roar stood calmly. What's our window? 17 seconds, maybe less. Then Wedicki the shot first. He turned to Saren. Fire the singularity lens. The room froze. Sir, that system, I know it's untested. I know we only got one damn shot. Fire it. Saren hesitated, then slammed her palm onto the activation panel. Deep in the core of the Vindicator, coils hummed with ancient energy. Developed under black budget projects no one dared speak of, the Singularity Lance wasn't a beam or a missile. It was an artificial micro-black hole stabilized for launch and aimed with quantum precision. A high-pitched whine echoed through the hull as the ship trembled. Then Thuepen fired. A ripple distorted space between the two ships like a smudge across reality itself. The black sphere darted forward, silent, elegant, unstoppable. The Jalurak's cannon had just begun to unleash its own being when the sphere punched through its forward armor. For one horrifying moment, the beam bent toward the Singularity, then collapsed inward. The explosion wasn't bright. It was quiet, like the universe holding its breath. The front of the Yalturak folded in on itself, crumpling as the miniature black hole devoured metal, energy, and lives with the quiet hunger of a god. Then it collapsed, gone as fast as it came, leaving behind nothing but wreckage and silence. On the Vindicator, alarms cut out. The rumble faded. The bridge remained still for a heartbeat. 2, 3. Then the crew erupted into cheers. Ramirez shouted triumphantly over comms. Saren leaned forward, blinking in disbelief. Even the navigation AI, cold and dispassionate, emitted a ping of completion. Holy hell, murmured Weapons Officer Jenkins. Did we just doth it? Roar didn't smile. His face was still stone. One down, he knew better than to celebrate. The Zerelions were never alone. Sir, Saren said, voice sobering. We've got movement. 6 more ships inbound. Smaller than Yaurok, but fast. Looks like strike cruisers. How long until they get here? 4 minutes, maybe less. Damn, Roar stood. Status on Vindicator. Ramir's voice came through again, strained. That shot fried half systems near the Lance array. We're down to 80% shields, propulsion at 75. We can still move. But not like before, understood. Roar tapped his command terminal, eyes narrowing. Prepare for Zetwo. Phase 2. The part no one ever wanted to use. In the depths of the Vindicator, hatches hissed open. 4 smaller vessels, stealth fighters with reverse-engineered alien tech, launched from the bay. Piloted by the most reckless pilots in the fleet, these ships weren't meant to win. They were meant to distract, to bleed, hostile. Black arrows deployed, Siren confirmed. They know what they're doing. Roar watched them disappear into the dark. 4 arrows against a hurricane. They always did. The black arrows sped toward incoming Zerelion cruisers, weaving through debris and jamming signals as they went. One pilot, Jack's Dead-Eye Marlowe, patched in briefly. "Captain," his voice said, calm even now. "If I don't make it, you'll make it." Roar snapped. Jax chuckled. "Sure I will. But if I didn't make them bleed, yeah, then silence." The Vindicator turned slowly, putting its bulk between Earth's outer moons and the incoming enemy. On every human channel across the system, civilian and military alike, images of the lone human warship standing its ground broadcasted like wildfire. Families on Earth watched. Soldiers across colonies watched. And for the first time in decades, they believed. Inside the leader cruiser, the new commander, Captain Kithis, studied the wreckage of the Yal Turak. "This is not war," he said slowly. "This is insult. A lower species dares wound us." An aide hissed a question. "Shall we contact High Command?" Kithis shook his head. "Number, they'll mock us for needing help. We end this now. Begin fleet bombardment pattern Theta." The strike cruisers opened fire. Twin lances of light streamed toward the Vindicator. Plasma shells and ion missiles flooded space. One of the black arrows twisted through the barrage, returning fire before a beam sliced through its cockpit. The ship spun out and exploded silently. Jax's voice never came back. Inside the Vindicator, damage reports flowed like water. Sections off the outer hull ruptured. Automated systems fought to keep life support online. "We're holding," Siren said, though her voice cracked. "For now, we don't need 4 of her," Roar replied. "Just long enough." "Long enough for what?" The I voice chimed in. "Yeah," said Dr. Amira Thorne, the only civilian on the mission and one of the last surviving scientists from the original Worm project. Her hair was wild and gray, her eyes constantly flicking over her shoulder. She hadn't been allowed above sea level in over 10 years. She pressed her hand to the biometric scanner, and the first lock disengaged with a long, slow hiss. "You understand," she said, not turning around, "that once we open this, nothing will ever be the same again." Roar didn't answer. He didn't need to, because deep in his gut, he already knew. When Vault Theta opened, the temperature dropped. Inside was a massive cylindrical shaft that descended further into the trench rock, spiraling down like a drill. Along its walls were ancient markings, not etched, but grown, like the stone itself had folded around the language. At the bottom was the worm. Not a creature, not a machine, Buddha seed. It pulsed with faint green-blue light, perfectly smooth, floating just above a curved pedestal of fused rock. Around it, faint trails of energy hovered like dust in moonlight. "No one knows what it's made of," Mira whispered. "Our scans can't penetrate Theshel. Radiation levels fluctuate, but never breach safety levels. It doesn't respond to physical contact. So how do we know it's alive?" Siren asked. Mira looked at her. "Because it dreams." She led them to the adjacent monitoring room. Old screens buzzed with broken feeds. One, however, still worked, showing a 3D model of brainwave patterns. "They're not ours," Mira said. "Not even human, but every few days it emits these waves. They resemble REM cycles. Sometimes the waves change frequencies, as if responding to proximity." "Responding to what?" Roar asked. "To us," she whispered. "To humans. Hours passed as the team scanned and studied the seed. The obsidian remained on standby above, tethered to Echo Black by a data umbilical. Roar stood near the chamber, staring at the pulsing core. His Neuralink buzzed softly. Then something else happened. He felt a pull. Not physical, not in the room, inside his head. He blinked. For a split second, the world went black. And then he saw something else entirely. A world on fire, not Earth, somewhere else. Alien structures burning. Zerelions running, not fighting, fleeing. And from the sky descended something vast, too vast to comprehend. A coiling shape made of both machine and biology with hundreds of eyes. No face, just mouths. Mouths that whispered names, human names. Roar snipped back, gasping, hand on his chest. "Commander," Saren called, catching him. "I saw something," he said. "What did you see?" "Something Zerelions fear." He looked down at the seed. It pulsed again, slightly brighter this time. "It's not just dreaming," he whispered. "It's watching." Meanwhile, across the system, the Zerelion fleet stirred. High Warlord Kazith stood in central chamber of the Ziggurat Prime, flanked by 10 elite mind scribes. A map of Earth's solar system shimmered before them. Red symbols blinked along outer ring. A single white dot pulsed inside Earth's perimeter. "The seat is active," one scribe said. "The humans have breached the chamber." Kazith's mandibles clicked together slowly. "Then we strike now." "Their world will burn," said another. Kazith raised a claw. "Number not yet. We cannot let them bond with it. If the seed links to human neural architecture, if it chooses one of them." He didn't finish the thought, because the only thing worse than the seed waking up was it choosing. The Devourer wasn't a weapon. It was a gate. A gate to something behind reality. And once long ago, the Zerelions had watched another species walk through that gate and never come back. Back in Vault Theta, Mira stared at Roar as he recounted what he saw. "It's trying to communicate," she said. "It's never done that before, because it never had the right person." Saren replied, her gaze locked on Roar. He frowned. "What do you mean?" "You linked with it, even if just for a moment. You saw its memory, its warning. No one else has." Mira was already scanning his vitals. His brain waves. "Look at this. They match the outer layer of the seed's pulses. It's resonating with him." "So now what?" Roar asked. "I'm some kind of messenger." "No," Mira said. "You're something worse." She walked to the window, staring at the glowing core of the seed. "If it chooses you, if it opens, you won't be human anymore." That night, as the others slept in shifts, Roar stayed in the observation chamber, watching the seed pulse slowly calm, almost peaceful. He placed his hand on the glass. "I'm not afraid of you," he muttered as if an answer. The seed pulsed once more, then again, then faster. Lights flickered throughout the station. Alarms triggered. An object was descending from orbit. A Zerelion stealth pod, small, fast, and designed to pierce ocean depths. Inside were 5 elite infiltrators coming for the seed dot, coming for Roar. Echolak was never designed to be defended. It was built in secrecy, meant to observe, not to withstand a direct assault. And yet, as the alarms blared, and red emergency lights flickered down the long rusted corridors, the men and women stationed within felt the crushing weight of war pressing through the ocean above them. Unidentified. Object breaching the trench wall. Soren called, her voice sharp over the comms. ETA 3 minutes. Roar stood in the command center, one hand gripping the console, the other clenched tightly at his side. "Can we stop it?" "Negative," said the AI. "Object is heavily shielded, fast. It's writing the current straight to the access shaft." He didn't need a full scan to know what it was. Zerelion infiltrators. They weren't soldiers. They were assassins designed for a single purpose. Eliminate threats to the greater galactic order. This time, Thathreet was him. Dr. Mira Thorne ran her fingers across the seed's chamber glass, watching its glow intensify. It knows, she whispered. It feels them coming. The seed pulsed rapidly now. The once slow, dreamy thrum now pounding like a second heartbeat. It's afraid, she said. Saren looked up. Of what? Of being destroyed, Mira replied, her voice trembling. Of being silenced again. Then she turned to face Roar as he entered the chamber. You need to leave, she said. I'm not leaving it. This isn't about the seed anymore, she said, eyes wide. This is about you. You're not the same as before. Roar paused. He'd felt it too. The last time he touched the glass, it hadn't just shown him visions. It had stayed with him. There was a hum beneath his skin now, a silent thrum in the back of his skull, like a distant signal waiting for a reply. Saren stepped in behind him. The enemy is going to breach in less than 2 minutes. Whatever you're planning to do, Roar, do it fast. Hess stepped forward to the glass again. He didn't touch it this time. Hess spoke. I don't know what you are, he said to the seed, or why you're down here, but if you need me, then take what you need. Use me. Nothing happened at first. Then everything changed. Inside Roar's mind, reality shattered. Hadn't fall. He didn't move. But suddenly, he was elsewhere. Floating in an impossible place. A vast void of light and shadow. Geometries that twisted into each other. Shapes that didn't obey any laws of space. Stars that blinked like eyes. Galaxies coiling around each other like serpents. And from the center of it all came a voice, not spoken, not even audible, just felt. You are the key, the final echo, the memory of what was and what may be gain. Roar tried to speak, but no words came. The voice, its presence rapidarened him. You were never meant to be what you are. You are acceleration, catalyst, the shape that survives collapse. What are you? He finally managed to think. I am not the worm. I am what came before. I am what lies beyond your extinction. And in a flash, Roar saw a glimpse of it. A race not human, not Zerelion, older than stars. A civilization that unlocked the core truth of existence, and in doing so, broke reality. They opened the seed, and what emerged from it didn't just consume their world. It rewrote it. Roar screamed, except he didn't have a mouth here, just thought, just feeling. The voice whispered once more. Now they fear you because you are becoming what they failed to contain. And then as fast as it came, it ended. He woke up gasping, kneeling in front of Seed, his body covered in sweat, eyes wide. Saren ran to him. Roar, what the hell just happened? I saw it, he whispered. It's not just a weapon. It's a doorway, a memory of a species that came before. Something too big to control. Then he stood, and it chose me. The first breach hit Echo Black like a hammer. A section of the upper hull imploded, water screaming through twisted metal. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, but not fast enough to stop the Zerelions. 5 infiltrators, armored in black organic exosuits, crawled into the base like insects. Their limbs bent in unnatural angles, their eyes glowed like molten stars. Seal the seed chamber, Soren shouted, raising her rifle. It won't hold them, Mira warned. Then we hold the linear cells. Outside the main vault, Roar stood shoulder to shoulder with Soren and the others. They were outgunned, outclassed, but not outwilled. Here they come, shouted one of the security officers. The hallway exploded into chaos. The Zerelions moved like bladed wind, fast, surgical. They cut down 2 guards before anyone fired a shot. The air filled with smoke and blood. Saren dropped to one knee, squeezing off 3 rounds that hit one of the infiltrators square in the chest. It stumbled, then fell, its armor hissing as it bled thick black fluid. Got one. she yelled. Another Chargidro, its claws aimed at his neck. But before it could strike, Roar caught it midair. Time slowed. He twisted, snapped its spine with one hand. Saren stared at them. What the hell? I don't know, Roar muttered, breathing heavy. I just moved. The seed was still glowing behind the glass, still pulsing, still sharing. One by one, the infiltrators were cut down, but not before. Captain Kithis of the Zerelion fleet watched his screens with narrowing eyes. In all the centuries of their dominance, only one species had ever resisted so violently. The Krogan long ago. But even they surrendered after a week of orbital strikes. Humans were different. They didn't beg. They didn't run. They fought like animals with nothing left. And worse, they were learning. Sir, his tactical officer said, antennae twitching nervously. They've shifted tactics, coordinated formations. They're jamming our tactical frequencies now. Kus slammed a clawed hand onto the console. Imitate them. Adapt. Use their own chaos against them. The Zerelions weren't used to adapting. Their ships were built for domination, not defense. Their command relied on intimidation, not innovation. But the humans didn't play by those rules. Not anymore. In the engine bay of the Vindicator, Chief Engineer Ramirez crawled through a mess of sparking wires and venting coolant. He didn't have time to call a team. Didn't need one. He just needed 30 more seconds. The Singularity shot earlier had fried half their backup systems, and if he didn't bypass the fusion capacitor now, they'd lose propulsion. Come on, you metal bitch, he muttered, fingers moving fast. Behind him, a warning light blinked red, coolant pressure exceeding safe limits. I see it. I see it, he hissed. One more seal. One more fuse, then a snap hiss as the final connection locked in. The room groaned, then steadied. Bridge, this is Ramirez, he said through gritted teeth. Engines aerogreen. Barely, don't ask for miracles. Roar's voice came back instantly. Wouldn't dream of it. Just hold her together, Chief. I always do. Elsewhere in the Vindicator in the medbay, Dr. Alina Kaur stitched a man's leg without anesthetic. The wound was deep, shrapnel embedded in muscle, and the patient bit down on a strap of leather to stop screaming. You're lucky, she said quietly, eyes not leaving her work. Another inch and your femoral artery would have sprayed this room red. He grunted in pain. I said lucky, note painless, she added. All around her, nurses and assistants moved like ghosts, dozens injured. No time for rest. Just blood, gauze, pain, and more pain. Because war didn't pause for recovery. And neither could they. Out in space, the tide began tottering. The Vindicator moved like a monster, limping, but unyielding. Beside it, the ironclad and the surviving destroyers tore into the remaining Zerelion cruisers. One enemy ship exploded under concentrated fire, the blast illuminating the shattered hull of the wrecked cruiser like a dying sun. 3 down, Sareen said, barely believing it. 3, but Jennan's face had gone pale. Missile barrage incoming. Zerelion reinforcements just arrived. Where the hell from? Roar barked. They must have been cloaked behind Europa's shadow. Stealth Class. 2 heavy corvettes and another capital class ship. Status on fleet. The ironclad's taken heavy hits. Frigate Ravenscar just lost comms. Destroyer Caspian is down to 30%. Roar stared at the new warship on the screen. Sleek black. Sleek like a dagger in the dark. Not another Yal Turek, but worse. This was the Zerelion Waith class. Their answer to every resistance built not just for war, but for mass eraser. Target the Wraith, roared. We finish this now. Jenkins shook his head. Sir, we don't have the firepower. Not anymore. Saren stepped closer. But we might have something else. Roar raised an eyebrow. What are you thinking? She glanced at the nav AI. The Vindicator still has jump capability, doesn't it? Emergency quantum jump. Yeah, he said slowly. Short range only. Risky. Can fry the core if we're not aligned right. But Ifu jumped inside the Wraith's shield radius. The room went quiet. That's insane, Jenkins muttered. We'd be torn apart. Not if we time it right, Saren replied. We jump in close. Close enough that their tracking systems can't react. We unload everything we've got point blank. The Wraith's defenses are made for long range. Roar considered it. It was suicide, but it was also the only shot they had. And humanity had always made its mark through madness. The Wraith-class ship loomed ahead, unbothered by the chaos. It moved like it had already won, like it always won. Kithis watched from within, already drafting the report to High Command. He'd record the initial failure of the Jalturuk as a tactical anomaly, the resistance by the humans, expected, but ultimately futile. Then something pinged on their sensors. Human ship jumping, but node away. Toward us, Kithis stood. What are they? And then the Vindicator tore intorial space inside the Wraith's shield envelope. It was close enough that Roar could see the alien hull through Thebridge viewports. The Zerelion ship was massive, smooth like obsidian glass, but no, it looked vulnerable. Now he roared. Jenkins didn't hesitate. Everything they had left fired at once. Cluster torpedoes drilled into the Wraith's hull, splitting open like flower petals of flame. Rail slugs dug into its core. The final barrage of ion beams overloaded its reactors. From the medbay to engineering, from the bridge to the last hangar bay, the Vindicator groaned and screamed under the recoil. The Wraith didn't explode right away. It cracked, lines of light breaking through its surface, splitting it open like an egg. Then it detonated in total silence, consumed by fire and vacuum. The Vindicator was hurled backward, shields buckling, power flickering, but it held against every expectation, against every law of warrant probability. It held. 20 minutes later, the field was still. The enemy ships gone. The Zerelions defeated for the first time in their history. The price had been unbearable. Only 2 human ships remained operational. Hundreds dead, thousands wounded. But Earth was safe. Roar sat in his command chair, blood running on his temple, eyes staring at the stars. Saren approached quietly. They're retreating. No more pings. No signs of tracking. He nodded slowly. Good. She glanced at the screen. We'll be in history books, you know. You especially, he snorted. Let them write what they want. We didn't do this for stories. No, she said. We did it because no one else would. In the distance, the shattered rings of Saturn glittered. Humanity had sent one ship, one relic of a forgotten war, and it had stood. The stars didn't care about victory. They shone the same over wreckage as they did over triumph. 2 days after the battle near Saturn, the Vindicator floated in silence, patched and limping back toward Earth orbit. Its hull was scorched black in long streaks, parts of its outer frame missing entirely. Only half the lights on the bridge worked. A soft flicker of emergency orange cast long shadows on the walls. Commander Roar stood alone, watching Earth grow larger on the central screen. Below him, a rising sea of blue and green. His home, his species, unaware, mostly of how close they'd come to extinction. Saren Vale entered quietly behind him. She moved slower now. Her ribs were still healing from when Animpak threw her against a bulkhead. But she hadn't stopped working since the fight. You should rest, she said gently. Medbay cleared out half its beds for the new arrivals. You're overdue. Roar didn't look at her. I didn't rest. Not yet. Saren stepped beside him, arms folded. Then at least eat. You've had nothing since the black arrows fell. Headerned at that, face unreadable. They bought us the time we needed. We'll honor them properly after the debrief. There was a long silence. Finally, Saren asked, "Do you think this is it? The end?" "No," Roar replied. "It's just the beginning." On the surface of Earth, panic met celebration. News feeds everywhere ran the same headline. Human warship destroys Zerelion fleet. Across the unified Earth cities, people wept and cheered. Holograms replayed Vindicator's final attack in glorious filtered detail. Clean, bloodless, with none of the terror or loss. Governments broadcast statements of unity. Recruitment booths overflowed. Children waved flags. Old men lifted glasses. But beneath that joy, fear crawled. Because if the Zerelions could hurt, they could also get angry. Inside the Global Security Council, high above the mega-city of New Geneva, 12 men and women in perfect suits stared at each other over polished steel desks. "Commander Roar went off mission," said Counselor Danzel, voice cold. His orders were to defend the Sol perimeter, not to engage directly. "Hesived Earth," replied Counselor Thandi Mbatha, her eyes sharp. "And for once, we prove that we aren't the galaxy's whipping post." "Temporary," Danzel said. "We've awoken a beast, and we don't know how many more they can send." General Misha Yun leaned forward. "The Vindicator was our last deep segment warship. If they send a full armada, we can't match that." Counselor Arjun tapped the desk. "Unless we finish Project Aegis." The room went still. Mbitha frowned. Project Aegis was shelved, unstable, experimental. "But design specificalido counters Zerelion tactics," Arjun interrupted. "We've seen it. Their arrogance is their flaw. Aegis was built to exploit that." Yun looked to the ceiling, then muttered, "God help Usul." Back on the Vindicator, the dead were being prepared for release. It was a quiet ceremony. The survivors lined up in the lower hangar, dressed in their best surviving uniforms. The bodies, wrapped in polished carbon weaver casques, were slid into the launch chutes one by one. Each coffin bore Annam. Jack's dead I.E. Marlowe, Lieutenant Tessa Hound, Navigator Elrich Shaw. Over 50 names. Too many for one deck. Roar spoke from a simple platform. "They were soldiers, yes, but more than that, they were the spark. They proved that when pushed, we don't break, we burn." He paused, and the universe has now seen what it looks like when humanity burns back. With the press of a button, the caskets launched slow, dignified, into the dark. One by one, they vanished into the vacuum, drifting toward the stars they died under. Not a word was said afterward, just silence. In deep space, far bay,